Verse 2130 describes the heavens and the earth as a single joined entity that was subsequently split apart. This suggests a universe that operates less like a random environment and more like a mathematically constrained computation. The Umm-Al-Kitab exists as the pre-manifest field, the underlying operating code from which all physical configurations are drawn. In this system, every event is a step in a calculation. This setup serves a specific function. It processes the human record, or Kitab, filtering consciousness through various trials to return it to its source. We are living inside a sequence defined by verse 57:4, a feedback loop where every action is recorded, measured, and eventually resolved by the logic of the system. This processing follows the structure of a cubic polynomial equation. F of x equals ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. This is the minimum mathematical structure capable of hosting an origin, a deviation, and a final return. Within this framework, each term corresponds to a specific operational force. The variables aren't just placeholders, they represent the distinct phases, from initial creation to the final seal. By examining these coefficients individually, we can map the structural chainmail described in the Qur'ān, a network of 6,236 nodes where every verse is a coordinate in a self-correcting field. To understand our trajectory, we have to identify which part of the equation is currently acting on our own consciousness. The variable x represents the human node, Ādam, our input. Initialized in verse 231, x is taught the names, achieving full data capacity. However, verse 21:15 reveals an instability. Ādam forgot his covenant. This forgetfulness causes the x variable to drift erratically from its origin. Because human memory is not continuous across the biological trial, the variable becomes volatile. The initial knowledge is still there, but the signal is lost in the noise of earthly experience. This volatility means human consciousness cannot stabilize itself. It requires the higher order terms of the equation to correct its path. The first corrective force is the cubic term, A, representing Taghūt. As the highest order, it dominates the curve. This corresponds to the 3 layers of darkness, a system of false authority exceeding its bounds, magnifying human error into a macroscopic distortion. We see this expansion in the character of Pharaoh, who, in verse 28:38, attempts to build a tower to reach the heavens. This is the cubic term at work, arrogance driving the system toward total divergence. This magnification is a mechanical necessity. The subtle forgetfulness in the soul must be expanded into a visible historical crisis so that it can be identified and purged. The chaos of history is the equation working to make spiritual entropy visible enough to be measured and corrected. To handle this expansion, the equation employs the quadratic term, B, the Razim operator, or Iblīs. This term provides a choice point, creating local minimums and maximums. It bends the soul's path through permitted deception, testing if it follows distortion or returns to the origin. The operator acts as a binary filter. It forces the human variable to choose between fire-based pride and clay-based submission, separating the signal from the systemic noise. Within the computation, Iblīs functions as a boundary tool. Its presence is required to force a separation of states, ensuring that only the refined data continues through the sequence. The linear term C acts as a direct corrective force, the Raḥīm operator. Representing direct proportionality, this straight path resists higher-order curvature. We visualize this as a prophetic chainmail, historical nodes designed to pull the glitching variable back into alignment. Ibrāhīm functions as the first ring. By submitting to the sacrifice, he removes the attachment to biological lineage, stabilizing the human will against the cubic expansion of ego. Yūsuf represents the buffer phase. Sold into slavery and imprisoned, his story is the preservation of truth in a state of devaluation. He is the signal held in a well until the system is ready for his elevation. Musa and Harun provide the crystallization of law. Their function is to strike the rock of human hardness, providing a clear criterion to distinguish guidance from error. Finally, Yūnus represents the completion of the filter. His triple darkness in the belly of the whale is the ultimate recovery of memory, turning forgetfulness into constant zikr or remembrance. The interlocking ring structure of these lives creates a self-reinforcing weave that protects the message from being lost to time. The prophetic nodes provide the necessary ʿazm, the determination that Adam lacked, effectively overriding the initial flaw of forgetfulness. For any computation to resolve, it needs a constant, a fixed value that prevents the system from drifting into infinite noise. In the Quranic system, the constant is 19. The Quran has 114 surahs, exactly 19 times 6. Verse 7430 places 19 as a numerical skeleton locking the cycle. This 19 condition is embodied in ʿīsā, the word of Allah, representing perfect synchronization of information and manifestation. This is a state of zero lag. At this coordinate, forgetfulness is gone, and the command of the text acts directly upon the physical world. This absolute control is shown in verse 2169, where the raging fire is commanded to be coolness and peace. Because the system is locked to its origin, the physical laws of entropy are momentarily suspended by the word. The number 19 serves as the mathematical seal, ensuring that no matter how much chaos is generated by the cubic expansion, the ultimate return to unity is guaranteed. The equation is now complete. It has expanded the error of Adam through Taghūt, filtered it through Iblīs, and corrected it through the prophetic chainmail until it reached the seal of 19. This is not just a description of the past. This is the operating environment for our own consciousness right now. We are left with the instruction in verse 19:12, O Yahya, take the book with strength. It is a call to provide the ʿazm that closes the loop. By taking hold of the book, we move from being a wandering variable to being part of the constant. We align our individual record with the Umm-Al-Kitab, completing the return to the mother field.